Hello, everyone. I'm Divit Gupta, and welcome to another exciting episode of Tech Talk with Divit. Today, we're celebrating the World Innovation Day, and our guest of the show is a very interesting person. He's highly technical, loves to travel. Please welcome Oracle's Vice President, Ashish Ray. Hi, Ashish. Welcome to my show, Tech Talk with Divit. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, David. Hey, nice to be in your show. I've heard a lot of good things about this show.
Hey, thank you. And as you know, we are celebrating the International Innovation Day, and you are the perfect guest for this day. Uh,
Wonderful.
so I know you like to travel, you write
Right,
blogs,
right.
and you have a ton of hobbies. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay. I think like all of these are related in some sense. At the end of the day, I like connecting with people, and I find traveling is a fantastic way to connect with people, especially across international cultures. And Oracle that way has been a great place for all of us because it's a global company. And because the fact it's a global company, you can touch other people, not only as your peer colleagues, but also in the fact that you are doing business in other countries. You get to know the other business practices and also cultural practices in other countries. So that way, especially, like with the way like the world has reshaped after the pandemic, I think it's very
Hmm.
important for us to connect with each other. And that
Yes,
way, like my traveling is more, the journey is more important than the destination. It's more relevant to me. And that way, in the similar fashion, my hobbies and interests are also aligned in that way.
that is very true. A journey is more important than the destination, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey,
Yes.
I know you've written some nice blogs about Exadata. Can you tell me a bit about that?
Yes, and just like rewinding back just a little, the reason I like writing blogs or write again in the way of connecting with people, I'm very interested in how people are using innovative and interesting technologies to solve real life business problems. And sometimes the problems can appear complex. And when you take a step back, you have opportunities to rethink the way you might have traditionally thought and say, like, okay, could there be a different way of looking at the problem such that we can come up with a more interesting and more innovative solution? And Exadata is kind of a product of a thinking in that regard. The way complex business problems occur around the world. There are the suppliers, there are the partners, there are the customers, end users, the producers, the market forces. As the data flows across them, what happens is the data creates latencies, right? Latencies across all these interfaces. Uh, with Exadata, what we are trying to do is to reduce these business latencies. Now, of course, when we are architecting Exadata, we don't necessarily go out and say, okay, let's see what the business latencies are. But every optimizations that we are making within the Exadata framework, whether that's in the software or whether that's in the hardware, those little microseconds of optimization, they all are cumulative in the sense that, for example, a quarter ending report on which there could be a lot of dependencies and a lot of stakeholders previously could have taken maybe a couple of hours to run. Now with Exadata, it would probably take minutes to run. And that's what we do, like in the within the machine or within the system, within the code, all the optimizations and the performance and the scalability and the availability we introduce, this help um, touch our human lives and make our human lives better in some regard. So many of my blogs have focused on that, how using these innovative and interesting technologies, we can get to lead better lives. So for example, one of the early blogs I did write was how Exadata touches us in our 24-hour period as you wake up and as you go through your day and as you transition
Oh,
through your work, through your business and your family, indirectly or directly, you are touching applications and products that are in turn powered by Exadata. And that's a big deal for me. Again, it goes back to how we are all interconnected in some fashion.
That is nice. So share those links and I will share that on my LinkedIn channel.
Sounds good.
And it seems like you know a lot about Exadata. Why don't you tell us a little about your role at Oracle, what your org is doing? How are things at Oracle?
Right. So what my team does, we are a group of very technical product managers in the core database product development organization. And our group's charter is to focus and to look at what we label as mission critical database technologies. And by mission critical database technology, the way I remembered this, or the way I can correlate this with the rest of my audience, is I have this acronym in me called SHARP, SHARP, and that S stands for scalability, A stands for high availability, R stands for reliability, and P stands for performance.
Wow.
So all of these aspects, any products that are related to these aspects, my team is responsible for that. We don't necessarily go out, we don't necessarily write the code for any of these products. We partner with our kernel engineers who are busy writing the code. However, what we do, we bring the customer perspective within the product development organization, which means we are interfacing with global customers on an everyday basis, and we find out what they need. And often, as you may find out, or as you may determine, that often we do not know what we need. So we have to partner with them and we have to figure this out. Oh, okay, this is what they are telling us. Really, this is what they are telling us. And that all of this cumulative knowledge drives the requirements. So our team drives the product requirements this way, bringing in the customer feedback. So in some sense, we are the customer champion within the product development organization. And then once the product gets built, we take it out, we go to market, we evangelize. There is a lot of feedback and it's an iterative process. And in turn, again, the way I started, the human lives get better and our product sets also get better. So it's kind of a win-win situation.
That is nice. So what are some of the new initiatives your team is taking for Exadata or your org is taking?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Divit. As you might have seen, or yourself you might have experienced in the last several years, there has been a big transition to shift to cloud or to transition to cloud because most of our customers, enterprises, look at cloud as a way we can, or they can be more agile, more efficient, and drive the cost down. Again, bringing down the latencies, the way I started this talk. However, prior to something like Exadata, the traditional ways of doing business on premise, which it have been used to be doing for the last 10, 15 years, especially for enterprises, there have been a whole set of best practices around the SHARP mantra that I outlined. They were used to developing or running applications which were fully scalable, highly available, reliable, performant. When they are looking into transitioning some of those workloads to cloud, our customers were not sure whether the existing cloud services back in those days were ready, both from an infrastructure and platform standpoint, to support the same SLAs that they themselves have built in their own data centers for the last so many years. What has happened recently with the advent of technologies such as Exadata Cloud, backup and recovery cloud, and also primarily the autonomous database strategy, customers are looking at these set of technologies, including Oracle's converged database technology, as an assured way to bring in enterprise workload to cloud, getting the expected cloud economics, and probably better, but using or leveraging the same or better SHARP standards, which means better scalability, better high availability, better reliability, better performance. And here, Divit, you may question me, wait a minute, Ashish, how is it better? See, what happens when we are rolling out autonomous database or Exadata database cloud services in our cloud infrastructure, what we have embedded in them, in the deployment, in the provisioning, is our 10 to 20 years of enterprise experience. So they get all of this packaged in our automatic provisioning, automatic deployment that happens. which means they don't have to come around and figure out or talk to their favorite integrators. Hey, this enterprise workload. Can you tell us what the security configuration would be, what the availability configuration would be, what the performance optimization should be? These are all done for them automatically. And prior to us coming into an enterprise cloud form factor, this was entirely missing. So net, this is what our team is actively involved with around the world. And the excitement has been quite phenomenal within our enterprise customer base.
Wow. So Ashish, one last question. It's going to be a tough one. Okay.
Tough one.
Yeah. How do you see the future of Exadata?
That's an interesting question. I will not necessarily say it's a tough question. It's an interesting question. See, with regards to Exadata and specifically also Exadata in the context of enterprise workloads and cloud, the innovation in the systems space is quite phenomenal. And here I'm not necessarily talking just about Exadata, about the systems industry in general. When you look at the processors, when you look at memory, when you look at networking, when you look at ways of how we can drive memory bandwidth using very innovative protocols such as RDMA, there is a lot of innovation going in at that in this space. And thanks to all our technology partners. So what has been very interesting for us is how we can look at all of these innovative technologies and bring them home within an Exadata platform, whether you deploy it on premises or you deploy it fully scalable in cloud, such that you can get the biggest bang for the buck. Actually, I even have a better term for that, such that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And we do this keeping database workload in mind. How can you bring in all this innovation, all the systems innovation that's happening in the industry, put them in an Exadata context and drive innovation such that if an end user can issue a complex SQL query or a database query, maybe it's real-time fraud detection or real-time detection of cybersecurity threats, which has to happen in microseconds. That query can literally result or return in a microsecond worth of time. And that's what we are driving. And I know this space, especially with the advent of AI and ML, will get even more data intensive, even more performance intensive. And we are fairly confident that the roadmap we have in plan we are absolutely geared towards meeting the challenge and exceeding the requirements and being completely unique in that regard.
That sounds great. And by the way, Ashish, I'm going to steal that SHARP acronym from you for sure. Now, Ashish, I can't thank you enough for sharing your wealth of knowledge. This was an amazing discussion. Thank you again for coming on the show. It was lovely chatting with you.
Absolutely, Divit. It has been my tremendous pleasure to be with you. Look forward to more such partnerships in the future.
We will. Thank you, Ashish.